3, 2, 1. Jimmy Dennis. Have you heard of him? Have you heard of him? I don't know about you, but this world to me appears to be some sort of testing ground. It's some sort of, it shapes our souls. It is difficult to an almost unbelievable degree, except for the fact that it is believable. This is real. Here we are, and we're experiencing this life. The folks on the show, every one of them, every single one that has been on the show has happened for a good reason. Our guest today was a radio host back in college, and she got connected to a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Dennis, who was falsely convicted and on death row. So imagine waking up for many years and deciding to allocate your lifetime to the liberation of someone who should not be on death row. The work of that over many, many years shapes you. It makes you into a more angelic person. It molds you in a fundamental way. The chemistry of your mind changes. It is transformative. And unsurprisingly, after, mind you, Jimmy Dennis was released, he himself quotes or says that Tracy and the work of her and her team was a pivotal turning point in the very long struggle of his eventual release. He considers her kids his niece and nephew, and considers her a sister. So to encapsulate all of that in a radio show, it's impossible, but I think you're getting the gist of it enough to understand. Now, Tracy later moved on to start her own PR media marketing agency because of the skills she learned working with Jimmy. You see, helping others helps ourselves. You know this, I know this, and our guest today knows it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your digital hands together for the one, the only, Tracy. Let's go.
Hi, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Pronounce your last name.
Lamourie.
Tracy Lamourie.
Oh, very red hairs. Somebody's commenting red hair. Oh yeah, I got usually, like, it's the red hair, the red dress, the red nails usually, but we got the COVID, the red walls upstairs. So yeah, red. First thing someone said, red.
Shout out to Barney Claptrap coming to us from Twitch with the comment, red hair monkey face. Red hair monkey face. So here's the thing. That's one hell of a story, Tracy. About Jimmy Dennis that I just encapsulated. The folks are aware of that. They understand that. I think they also understand that you're in media now, but we're going to go back because that's what we do on the show. We're going back to maybe even your parents. What were your parents like before you were born?
Before I was born, oh gosh. So my parents had me when they were young. I was born in 1969. So my parents were born in the late 40s. And my dad was born, or they were both born in Quebec. My dad was at Quebec in Canada, which is the French-speaking part of Canada. Yeah. My dad grew up in an English, totally Anglo, the family, very little French, if any.
Let me ask you this. Did they do anything activist-wise?
I wouldn't say activist, no.
So I
didn't grow up in an activist family.
Yeah, then why are you an activist if there's nothing in the parents? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I've always had that. Who knows? Oh, you know what? Actually, John Lennon, maybe.
Why John Lennon?
When I was 10, which was 1980, which is sort of just before he died, actually. So I was young. It was not the Beatles era. I was, later on. But my best friend, who herself died, 15 years ago, Yolanda Purvis, and I always like to say her name because she used to write on her binder, "No one dies till the last person on earth ceases to speak their name," and she wrote it about John Lennon. actually.
Right.
So which I've never told that story on a podcast before. So she got me into the Beatles when we were 10 in 1980, and then John Lennon died later that year.
Right.
But what I liked the best about him was, he was an activist. He was a vocal activist, and he also had a message that we should, you should be too. Don't follow leaders. I remember him being quoted as saying, if you haven't, follow us. If we have an idea, great. Let's all do it together. If you have an idea, you do it. Maybe we'll follow you. So I got that message really early on. Back in the day when you actually care about what your heroes say. Now that you're older, I don't care what anyone said, Lennon or anybody else, right? But when you're young and you're soaking up all this stuff, I had a pretty good role model, which is get out there, change the world, and do things. And, so my first activist thing was at 15, going to a peace march, with my friend, that we saw the signs. It was like, anniversary, I think, of here. It was not about any particular war. It was in 1985. I don't think.
Were you at 15? Were you a weed smoker? Was that part of your activism?
Not at 15. Not at 15.
So so it wasn't like you were smoking weed, getting high, and going, you know what?
Definitely not.
Now that you're high, you understand what I'm saying? Like, you get high. Now you're high, and you're going, I got to do something about it. So sober. You got into activism.
I was sober. I was a smart little kid. I was a writer, and I had, already started writing the year before in the local. We would live briefly. I was a city girl from Toronto, but briefly we lived in a small town. When we lived in a small town, I was bored as heck. So I pretty much, took over the media in a minute. They were looking for someone from the high school to write about the high school, so I was doing that, and then we moved back to Toronto, and I wasn't anymore.
Okay,
but yeah.
So pause there. So there's a through line here. There's a through line. So you got media experience in high school, right? Like you just jumped into that. Before that, so 15, I think you start high school at like 14, 15. 14, so there was activism even prior to that.
Around the same time. Yeah.
Around the same time. And so when you were a little kiddo, did anything happen to somebody who didn't deserve it in your life? Do you have any memories of just being that's nothing, ridiculous?
Well, you know what? Yeah, but nothing personal, nothing like that I would have been emotional about. But I do remember being in the car, having older family members, driving or being just like, in the 80s and yelling at the, like in their heads, yelling at people who couldn't hear them in the other car, like, oh, you bad driver or whatever, and saying, racially sensitive things. Oh, Asian driver, whatever. And I remember being 12 in the backseat going like, hey, that's not right. Don't say that. And, an older adult being like, hey, whose side are you on anyway? And I remember literally thinking the side of things that are right. I mean, not, like that's just not, I'm on the side of fair, and that's what right. I remember thinking, like, what color the guy is nothing to do with
I very similar stories. When I was growing up, my friends would always say things were Jewish. That was always their favorite thing to say. Oh, that's Jewish, and I was just like, that's so stupid. Or that's
gay or whatever.
Dude, and I would always, I'd always fight them on it, and they just ostracized me. They the second because to them everything's a joke, and so I'd be like, guys, come on, and then all of a sudden they would turn whatever that feeling was that they were trying to put onto some other group of people, and they would just start making fun of me from an early age. And I kept fighting those battles. And then I don't know, I feel like I just eventually gave up trying to stop them in particular from doing it, because I just realized they would just turn the jokes on me.
Just continue doing it. And
it was just brutal. Yeah, brutal. But yeah, no, you and I have that in common. So, all right. So young kid, a little bit of activism streak already. Why is what I'm trying to get at. I don't get it.
Why the activist streak as a young age?
Yeah, like why in high school were you
primarily blame John Lennon? I wasn't a little girly girl that was all caring about makeup and all that stuff. I didn't I read a lot. I was a big reader. I've always been a reader since I was a little kid. One of my earliest memories is wanting to be able to read, wishing I could read, even though my parents taught me how to read really young, like by the age of 3.5 or 4. So I must be remembering like at 3, looking at books and thinking, I can't wait till I can read that. And then I read everything. I read literally cover to cover. I would read the encyclopedia on my mom's shelf. I would read her psychology books on the shelf. I would read true crime books like Helter Skelter at age 12. I would just read anything at the cereal box, but a lot of things, psychology, sociology, crime, which law was the interest with law, not gore. A lot of that stuff, was always, since really young, I was always reading about that stuff, but I never was an activist or whatever, about that. Wasn't looking at it in that way at all. I was just gathering information, psychology, sociology.
I wonder if there's a correlation between reading, a lot, prolifically.
And I read a lot, like a book and a magazine all the time.
Yeah. And empathy, I wonder if you just, or maybe it's not true for everybody, but it seems to be true for you. Like the more information that you gathered, you're like, you know what, I have a pretty good sense of the world through these authors' eyes. And, I have a good sense of justice, good sense of fairness, and what should and should not be happening. And I'm educated enough to stand up and say, you know what, I'm pretty damn sure I'm right on this one.
Well, that's a really good point right there, because, when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, we had balls, because like I said, we were literally no legal experience at all. And I say no media, meaning no national media. We had like minor media experience, which I think I guess to some people is media experience, but I mean, we weren't expecting to be put on the spot in like CNN or anything. You know what I mean? We had no concept that could happen from what we were doing in our basement. So it was like, what? Who's calling what now? So it was that kind of thing. And so with really no media strategy, I should say, and no legal experience, the fact that we were on, taken seriously, and we were on those CNN, NBC, all those things, it's like,
on the Jimmy Dennis front, you mean?
It started with, unfortunately, we tried to get all those. We were always pitching about Jimmy, but they were outside of America. Yeah, we got lots of information about Jimmy out there. Like in Turkey, there were articles, Australia, Germany, all kinds of places. In America, while he was convicted, while he was on death row, this is before the days of wrongful conviction podcasts and before all of that. In those days, when someone was convicted, the end of the story, and it's really hard to get media attention on it. Really hard. We'd get a little bit here and there, a little bit there, but mostly international. What became the story? In Canada, where we were from, we got a lot of major media attention too about what we were doing in the States, interviewing us seriously as justice, whatever. In America, a lot of times they tried to frame it like it was like, oh, these feisty Canadians, look at that, putting death row online. Oh my, like Fox tried to fox it up, and we always dealt with that really, really well. You'd put us in the hot seat, and they'd be like, huh. So all of a sudden they took it seriously, and they'd put us on with, like I said, Nancy Grace would be trying to nail my husband, who's an amazing speaker. He just took it all so well that people were emailing us in saying, I don't even know how I feel about the death penalty, but you guys are great. So we were inspired by Jimmy Dennis. We started this Canadian Coalition Against the Death Penalty, because we were like, whoa, if that can happen, what the heck is going on there? So then we dug a little deeper, and we started hearing about all these cases and all these. He was the only case where we talked, this man is innocent. We've seen all the files. We advocate for this person. But that we also said, there's a lot, this is a mass. People have to look at and understand what's going on over here. So then we started shining a spotlight, as we said in those days, on the corners of death row, the dark corners that you don't hear about. And we were talking, so then in America, we became the story. We kept trying to say, and let's talk about Jimmy Dennis. Oh, but what about the fact that but we always handled that well. We would do that media, and that's part of what brought me into PR, because man, here we are on the hot seat about a controversial issue in international media, not only holding our own, but doing really well. So if I can do, and it's funny though, because when you look back, you would not start a career if you were planning a strategy. And I got well known in that. Like if you Google my name 10 years ago, you'd see 3,000 things coming up all about the death penalty. Some of those things are still there now, but they're all covered up by this successful publicist stuff, all over now. But if you were telling someone to start a career where they're going to be high profile, or where they're going to be representing other people's messaging and other people's high profile stuff and creative and business of all kinds, you certainly wouldn't advise them to go deep and dirty in a big controversial issue like that and build their own name.
I mean, look,
it's counterintuitive.
This is the, like at the end of the day, we have monkey mind, right? We have evolved primate mind. Okay. And it's funny because the more intelligent among us go, oh, look how smart I am. Oh, look at my accolades. Look at my awards. Oh, yes, I am everything. Oh, look at the books I've read. Look at my library. Look at my degrees upon the wall. Gaze upon them. But we don't know nothing. We don't know
even
nothing.
know our own brains were.
Bro, we don't know nothing. And and so what I mean by that is you followed the path, right? It's the path. It's you actually do something that has long-lasting karmic echoes, which is to say that the death penalty, wrongful conviction, literally the life of another human being are all at stake, and you invest in that. And in so doing, learn the skills. So this is the thing about entrepreneurship is, I mean, I desperately wanted to work from home for years. And I told people, my brother did it. I was so jealous that he was working from home. I'm like, you are in heaven. I'm in hell. It's not fair.
I hear that.
And here's my thing. People die on the road. And many more people are seriously lifetime injured.
Good
like
point.
herniated,
to work.
dude, stupid. And
I'm lucky.
It's so stupid.
I was a work-at-home pioneer. I'm telling you, back when I was still, that's why I stayed in entry-level sales for so long, because I found a job where I was able to, work from home. And then when that one ended, every time I would see a sales job, I would just pitch them and say, but you know what? You need to hire me from home. And somehow I was able to do it.
Here's a crazy idea. Why don't we hold, I'm going to get it for this. Why don't we consider holding companies that can be work from home somewhat liable for the transit of their
That's a great
employee.
idea.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, because they pay for the time.
You want them to come on down. You want to force them when they don't have to, man.
Yeah.
That like prove to a judge that they physically have to be there for me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Start your sentence with Your Honor. Okay.
Yeah.
And then keep talking about why they need to be in that physical location, so that you don't have to pay a $10,000 fine because they got into a car accident to and from, or you need to pay for commute insurance. You got to, because you're contributing to global gas emissions. If that person gets hurt in the car, now they're not having their kids. They're not playing with their kids as much.
Yeah,
that's on you, employer, for not having the wherewithal to just let people work from home if they want to.
I love it. Yeah. No, I think, and maybe that's one thing that will come out of COVID is a lot of employers will see the benefit in it too.
Oh. I just, there are people in my life, some of my loved ones are commuting to, and they're hoping and praying, and I'm praying for them that they don't have to anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the wear and tear on the car prices, the gas, the potential injury, the stress of driving. If you're going to die today, good chance it's going to be in an automobile.
That's interesting. Yeah. And then where is everybody going in the car? Back and forth to work, all of it. Yeah. No, exactly. That's a really good point.
So all right, COVID sucks. But the silver lining is that, we all figured out that, that meeting could have been an email, or it could have been on Zoom.
Yeah, I remember saying that back at the time of G20 in Toronto and all that, going on. I was like, it wasn't even Zoom back then. You didn't even hear about Zoom. But I remember being like, these guys heard of conference calls? Like the billions of dollars that it would cost every major world leader to get to one place. And then the security around that. And then the beating all the protesters over the head around that. Like it was literally, Toronto is still paying 10 years later in all kinds of ways for that. They really are, Yeah,
let's just be honest about it. You wanted to throw a party.
You wanted the selfie. I get it.
You know what I mean? Like, exactly.
I like
you wanted the
too.
glad hand, and you wanted to feel important, and you wanted to put on your nice clothes, and you wanted to walk.
Hey, we all like our conferences, but come on.
I'm just saying, you want to put on this air of superiority, and you want everyone to know how great you are, and you want to stand out. You're like, fine, I get it, but let's understand what it actually is.
Billions of dollars and trauma.
Yeah, what are we acting? I know. Just trust me. So anyway, I said all that to say this. That was my activism, right? Was I don't want this just for myself. I want this for my employees. I want this for hopefully the hundreds of people that will work for me. I want that autonomy. And so that was a drive, like, and so, yeah, I mean, people, they're like, you know what, I should start a business. What should I do? Amazon drop shipping. They'll be like that, and it's like, why are you getting into drop shipping? Like, what do you care at all about drop shipping? Like, what? There's no
people
soul
have no
there.
vision. They don't think that they can do something they like. Like, I talk about that a lot. I'm like, listen, do you ever think about, again, probably not a guy from death row thing, but whatever your passion is, whatever your hobby is, even, there's probably stuff you love or like that you could literally turn into a business that you wouldn't hate. You don't have to actually hate your 9 to 5 or in my case, your 9 to 3 or whatever 3 a.m. Your 18-hour day. If you love your day, you can literally be happy to get to your desk in the morning.
Dude,
like, I don't want to go.
I'm not advocating quit your job, and go jump into something. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
but
that's
just
not what I'm
open
saying.
your mind a bit.
But like, what do you actually love doing? Like, what do you what do you really, really, really want? And then, blah, blah, blah. I've had this conversation a billion times. So, and you've heard it too, listener. Like, I know that you're aware of this conversation. So I am impressed by the Jimmy Dennis thing. I mean, it's just truly impressive. So why don't we
I'll be impressed by Jimmy Dennis, not by me. I thought no. He's the one. How do you? Someone said, "How do you stay?" But seriously, somebody said in the podcast, "How do you stay on a project like that for 20 years?" And it made me start thinking, how do you stay on any? How do you keep a group of people together on even a business project or any project really for a long time? Even when you're getting, and in this case, there's emotional stuff and drama, and you're not getting any. You're losing all the time, and then I was thinking, I really had to credit it back to, as much as we did, he stayed, from a cell when our man, he has problems, PTSD and all that stuff has come out, but he's a strong person. Can you imagine?
Dude, I mean, it's just forget about it. It's unthinkable.
It's crazy.
It's unthinkable. It's unthinkable. But I mean, on the other flip side, it's like, what else are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go crazy. A lot of people
don't, though.
I get it. I know a lot of people, you can give up in jail. I'm not saying you can't, in prison, I should say. Like, you can give up and there's no question about it. But it's also like,
I know what you're saying. In one case it's for you, so you're going to obviously fight.
Well, I mean, it's impressive. I mean, I'm not taking an iota away from this dude at all for his incredible work. But it's one of those things where he chose to do what most entrepreneurs should do, which is, dude, bro, you got to dig deep.
There.
You got to dig deep. And the other thing too is like, you got to open up your heart, man. Like, this notion that you can be a leader and somehow like not have feelings for, are like, how do you describe it? Like, not have feelings.
People are the bottom line, not profits. I said, people are the bottom line.
Yeah. So anyway, right. So Tracy decides to go all in and ends up with this company and on the other side of it. So that's, I want to jump into that a little bit and then we're going to go back to your past. But so who are your clients nowadays? I'm curious.
So right across the board. So when you think publicists, you think, I have the obvious: filmmakers, some actors, writers, musicians, like that. And my creatives, I limit to really, really good people. Like, that's limited. And then I have about 60% of my work right now. If you don't count authors, probably about 50% of my work is entrepreneurs, small business people. And people, again.
Yeah, but what are you doing for the small business guy? I don't.
Well, let me tell you who they are first. Let me tell you who they are, because it's like right across the board, and people sometimes surprised by like what kind of job.
Yeah,
so I have everybody from a personal chef, luxury real estate agent, forensic, a woman who owns a forensics company, like crime forensics.
Okay.
Holistic doctor, psychotherapist.
How much are you charging these people?
Guy.
What's your thing?
There's all different. So the main general for PR is $3,000 a month, 3-month minimum.
Dude, that's
Hollywood.
So expensive.
Stop. You gotta hear me out. I don't do that. I do that for Hollywood projects or giant corporate. I don't like giant corporate. Actually, I almost never take them because it's really annoying. No matter how good the money is, to be trying to do PR by like boardroom. You get a media opportunity. They want to talk for 2 days over who should talk about it and what the message should be. And by then
see that right? I'm glad you said that, because that is like, I am not paying anyone ever to sit in a room and talk to themselves, because I've seen it too much.
I'm telling you, all they do, and I won't, no matter how, I've said no to projects, no matter how good the money is, because I know at the end of the day, I'm just going to be frustrated and annoyed. I'm not going to be able to do the job they're paying me for. And I don't like that. So,
Yeah,
because
it's
they're
the
not going
worst.
to be. So, anyway, to answer your question, so that's the normal price. And that's also why most entrepreneurs do not go for it
Yeah.
or even think about it. Well, first of all, they're not thinking about it. And then if they do think about it and they call and then they're like, oh my God, because even if you're doing well, like my business is doing well right now, but if I don't know, if I don't really understand the whole concept, it's a new idea to me. And someone tells me you got to put $10,000 or $9,000 on the table before I start. Yeah, call me next year, maybe. It's gonna be.
Yeah,
It's not
there's no
gonna
chance.
like.
So what
Yeah.
do you do now that you've said what you
So,
don't do?
well, no, I'm telling you why though. And then I ended up doing a lot of podcasts and all that where I'm explaining to entrepreneurs. And then obviously I can't be explaining all this about why they need to do this, getting them all excited, and then just being like, oh, well, it's out of your range. So what
Right.
I started to do is, and to not undercut myself, but to keep it, in fair to both, is I have two different plans without getting advertorial and detailed here. I have two different plans under $1,000 a
Okay.
month. And even for the $1,000 a month one, if you get 3 months, it's less, and 6 months is even less.
Yeah.
Blah, blah,
So
blah.
that's
So
all right. So
basically,
it's
a lot of price points that
Yeah.
anybody in business can take, can get to. And I
Yeah.
also would offer if you just wanted a press release, blah, blah, blah.
So are you trying to
Anyway,
get people? Are you trying to get people interview spots and like
primarily media attention, so newspaper, magazine, television, radio interviews
right?
about them. Also get them interviewed as sources in articles, other articles about whatever they talk about, where they might be one of many.
Right.
And also get them in front of things that have built my own brand. Like now that I was, nominated for this award and I got it and I see what it's done for me. So now all my women, for example, I nominate them for if they have a resume that supports it,
Right.
Universal Women and other women's awards. All my entrepreneurs, I find entrepreneur awards, find awards in their business. So find opportunities to get them on stages speaking in panels, find
Right.
opportunities to get them in awards, and find media opportunities for them.
Yeah, for
So
me,
just-
it would be the speaking.
yeah.
I did a bunch of podcasts, which is why I'm the host of this one. And then I like speaking. I still have clients. So like one of this, I did a speech for a court reporter conference. So the people that do stenography.
What was the speech?
It was 90 minutes on just how they should market their stuff.
Nice, yeah.
Stenography
Were they typing?
marketing. No, it wasn't like 90 people.
That's just disappointing. I'd be like, unless you guys all pull out your little machines, I'm just
that's like I'm leaving. I'm
listening.
walking out the door unless can they get a stenographer up in here?
How do I know you're really hearing me?
Yeah, I put up a slide of like because they've got their little like short form. It's like a whole different language. I put up a slide of something that was funny, and I didn't even know what it said, and I put it up there. They're all like, ah. That was hilarious, and I'm like, I don't even know what that says, to be honest with you.
That's so funny. Could you explain the joke? That's funny. Oh my god.
Yeah. So, but but the thing is with public speaking is it's I've done it a bunch, but it still terrifies me. I still think about it for weeks and months leading up to it. I go ad nauseum. I go over and over and over to my head. I over prepare. It's like, so it's just exhausting. Public speaking is exhausting. I way prefer hosting a show. Like this is so much
like
easier.
your space.
Just chilling, laid back and getting real conversations with incredible people it's just such my vibe. So okay, all right. So I think we kind of understand the Tracy Lamourie.
Sorry.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, it rhymes with story. So you said Lamourie.
Yeah, I did it right. I did good. I did good. So kind of vibes, but I do want to go. I'm going back. I'm pulling you back.
All right.
All right. So both parents stayed in the family. They were together, or did they split up?
Until I was 11, they were together. They separated when I was 11, but my dad lived in the same apartment building and downstairs. And for me, it wasn't traumatic, other than wanting my parents to get back together. But my dad was like a constant, and they got divorced when I was 14. My mom remarried, which I didn't love at the time, but he's okay. And ended up having my two brothers. So I have two brothers, but they're but by blood they're half brothers.
Half brothers. Yeah, I got two half sisters. Yeah.
So they were born when I was 16 and 18. So that was, I was old enough to be the final older sister, like auntie kind of thing. So we've always been close, but I didn't live at the home for very much longer after that, a couple of years. And then, yeah.
Okay. So growing up until 11, so your parents split. Do you think there's any connection between your parents splitting at 11 and you like raging on the streets with your activism?
The Peace March? No. I was really well, my teachers would tell you I was really, what do you call it? Well, whatever. What do you call it?
Adjusted,
I guess. And I say that because I remember I had a grade 9 English teacher, and he said when my mom finally went into, whatever their annual parent-teacher conference that they did with all the kids was, he was like, I guess she was telling him, oh yeah, my husband's not here. We're divorced or divorcing or whatever it was at the time. And he said, oh, I don't know his exact language, but basically he said, my mom reported to me that he had said, oh, he had no idea, that I was from a divorced family. It's a Catholic school. And he said, because he said most of the time he could tell with kids, by their behavior or whatever, if they had problems like that at home. And he said with Tracy, I had idea. But I think a lot of that is let's go back to that reading. This is a key I never knew in life, because to this day I read all the time, and I had no idea, but I read it because I read everything cover to cover. I read in Psychology Today about a year ago, and it was talking about how reading is a really good tool, because I've always been like, I've never been on any like pills for depression. I've never been on any, people go to that, oh, I'm stressed out. I've always just, I guess, gone and, opened my book and read. And it makes sense. It's because it said it's like a tool for getting away from that stuff. And it makes absolute sense if you think about it, because, you're all upset, you're yelling, you're blah, you're all stressed out. And then you go and you sit down and, you open your magazine and you read. And if you're actually reading, by the time you're like a column in, you're not in that world anymore. You're now thinking about the lady and her geraniums and whatever, or you're reading about that story and you're engaged in that story. And so then, your heart's gone down. You're like, whereas if you don't do that, you're still thinking, oh my God, I can't believe that guy just said that to me. Oh my God, my mom was so mean. Oh, I'm just gonna, and you think about it over and over. But no, if you're like putting it aside, maybe some people do it with music, but I would just read it, completely transport you into another world. And I was like, oh gee, I wonder if that's why my whole life, because I've always been a reader, everything is sort of, I remember my best friend when I was 15, around the same time, a year after my parents divorced, my best friend's mom, who knew me really well, said to me too, something similar. And they were super intellectuals, and she didn't use the word well-adjusted. I don't remember what she said, but she was like, and she saw me going through what she thought were struggles. Which I didn't really see that way. She said, I see you going through all this stuff, and you just, you're okay.
Hey man, it's like, know thyself. Know thyself. It's like, I need to go outside. I need sunlight on my body. I need to run. There are things about myself that I know about myself, and how I react. So I'm saying it's so important to just really listen to what your body's telling you. And for you, it says, hey, pick up that book. It's reading time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it always has.
It's just how it goes, And then, when you have kids, you realize that too. It's like, look, you're born with hardware, and it's like, there's a certain amount of like what the body wants, what the mind wants, just based on, who you are as a person. But anyway, 11:03, we went a little bit past what I'm comfortable going past, Tracy.
I'm sorry.
Yes, you should apologize. I'm very upset. Anyway, I want to give you the final word. Let the fine folks know where they can reach out to you. How do they get in touch, Tracy?
Yeah, I'm happy to give a free consult if anybody is interested in hearing more about it. Just say you saw me here and I'll be, chat with you for free. LamourieMedia.com, or on Instagram, Tracy Lamourie PR Media. LinkedIn is a great place to reach me, which is Tracy Lamourie. Facebook too, Tracy Lamourie. LamouriePR@gmail.com. And yeah.
And in case you're wondering, Lamourie is LAMOURIE. That's L as in lizard, A as in apple, M as in monkey, O as in orange, U as in umbrella, R as in rat, I as in insect, E as in elephant. That's Lamourie Media.
And or you can go, it's L'amour with an IE. So it's the French L'amour without the apostrophe with an IE. And I think that's great, because Tracy means bold and courageous, apparently. And L'amour, love. So, I'll take that.
There you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Marketing as a Foreign Language, streaming live on YouTube every 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. If you want to leave a chat while we're live, you certainly can do that. If, like most folks, you are watching us after the fact, either on YouTube, the Send It Rising Internet Marketing Facebook page, iTunes, Spotify, or the 9 other podcast platforms that are out there, we appreciate you and we love you. Special shout out to Tracy Lamourie, who we will definitely have on for another episode as we stay in touch with what she's doing with her life. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show for today. We will see you next time. Bye for now.